Before we get stuck into this week's episode, just want to say a very quick thank you to Alt Cult, Rockstar Finance, Hydra Rehearsal Studios, and Squid Ink Screen Printing for their fantastic support. Now it's on with the show. Welcome to a special 2-hour episode of the Hard Rock Show. I'm Andrew.
I'm Mick.
I'm Dave.
I'm Tim.
This is Dave's first time on the new set. Welcome, Dave.
I made it, yeah! Still at the show.
Yes.
So he thinks.
Yeah.
We'll see how
Where the fuck am I?
We'll see what happens by the end of this episode. Now, this is a 2-hour presentation dedicated, I guess, to being a celebration of Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix. Now, we did do this at Whole Lotta Love in the past. But
It was good. You should have been there.
It was fun, but the audio completely cracked out, so we couldn't use it. So now we're going to just do a celebration of the two artists. So for that, we're going to review a massive pile of albums, which we'll get to in a second. But for now, details are at the bottom of the screen, so please make sure you're following us on all of our social media channels. Follow all of our radio shows on social as well, and subscribe to YouTube, because there's going to be a lot of content, especially in the TV version of this broadcast, which is not going to go to television. So to not miss out, watch it on YouTube. So as I said, this is Hendrix versus Vaughan. It's Hendrix and Vaughan tonight.
It's a celebration.
It is a celebration now, as opposed
of
to
two
a battle.
iconic guitar players.
Lots of fun. Great music.
It is. This is actually a really cool process. And so for that, we're going to go through 14 albums for this, believe it or not, 7 from each artist. So from Jimi Hendrix, we have Are You Experienced?, Axis Boulder's Love, Electric Ladyland, First Rays of the New Rising Sun, Rainbow Bridge, The Cry of Love, and Band of Gypsys. From Stevie Ray Vaughan, we have Texas Flood, Couldn't Stand the Weather, Soul to Soul, In Step, Family Style, The Sky's Crying, and Live Alive. So that's what we're in for this extended special edition. But we are going to kick this off with a clip, aren't we, Tim?
Yes, we are. We've got the new clip from Electric Mary. It's all right.
The Jimi Hendrix Experience, Are You Experienced? 17 tracks for 60 minutes for the official issue. Debut album from the English-American rock band released May 1967 by Track Records. Produced by Chaz Handler, the album was recorded over 16 sessions at 3 different London studios. A number of singles were released from this, including but not limited to Purple Haze, Hey Joe, Foxy Lady, and The Wind Cries Mary. Leading the album to peak at number 2 in the UK, spending 33 weeks in the charts there, number 5 in the US, remaining in the charts there for over 100 weeks. This album has been certified gold in the UK, 5 times platinum in the US, and the album is widely regarded as one of the best and most influential debuts of all time. And in 2005 was chosen by the Library of Congress to be added to the National Recording Registry in 2005 due to its cultural significance.
The big takeaway out of that is, Britain, what are you doing? It's only gold?
Yeah, Britain have a weird certification method. It's a bit
that's a bit strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't sell 4 castles,
I know, right? Like,
it's not
platinum.
No.
Anyway, so what I actually love listening to this record back in hindsight, knowing of what Jimmy would do on his later albums, because you can really hear his earlier influences, that sort of, blues guitar playing, mixed in with that, sort of 60s psychedelic scene.
Yep. And
you can hear him kind of fleshing out his ideas. Also, as an American guitar player going into Britain, where he really, this is in 1967. At this time, finding really high gain guitar amps, you couldn't get them in the US. And I mean, guys like Mesa Boogie actually got famous by modding American amps to sound like British amps. So, and you can hear him kind of fleshing out those ideas and trying to see how far he can push it. And for mine, that's one of the coolest parts of this album, is seeing where he's going with these ideas, and you can see his thought process and hear it coming through on the record.
Cool.
Plus, and a lot of that blues stuff, plus, Mitch Mitchell, his right-hand man, very much coming out of the big band era of drumming, especially with his drum tone and the way he's kind of swirling around the kit, and those two kind of coming together, really make this a really cool album and a really great sound. I mean, in a way, it's because in a way, it almost sounds like a demo in that regard, how they kind of throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, and they just so happened it all stuck. For mine, Manic Depression's actually the highlight.
Okay, cool.
By far my favourite track.
That's a fucking good song.
Yeah.
The drums, man.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Two drummers.
Yeah, and 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Great album.
Yeah, for me, just not off topic, but I don't normally listen to Hendrix. I never listened to a full album. I only knew what was on the radio and bits and pieces, and same with Vaughan later on. It's not guitar players I would generally go to, but when I put this album on, I've gone, wow, you know, like they're just really good songs. And I think you can be a great musician, but if you don't know how to write a good song, it's really irrelevant. Jimi Hendrix was probably the innovator of being a fantastic guitar player that could write songs, you know.
One of the first, if not,
Well, I can't think of anyone being a soul artist at that point in time.
The only one that you'd maybe say would be Cream. Possible.
Yeah.
And possibly The Who, depending on how much credit you give Pete Townsend.
Yeah.
But still,
But as a solo guy,
this is a solo.
No one comes close to Hendrix.
I think all it came from Hendrix,
Yeah.
and then they backed him.
Yeah.
You know,
Agree with that.
it goes back to, well, I know we've touched on it before, but the panning.
So
I
good on
fucking
this
miss
record.
it so much.
Yeah.
You know, when you go back to an album like this and you hear little bits and pieces in your left and right speakers, it's just like, fuck, this is taking time.
Yeah.
It's easy to, well, I'm not saying it's easy, but to record something, a wall of sound, is a lot easier than to put little bits and pieces, you know, into things. Like, would it be a tambourine or some percussion thing to add
Attention
atmosphere
to
and
detail.
mood, all that kind of stuff. And we don't get that in music today. And it would be nice if bands did it, but did it their own way, you know.
I was just losing a shit in the background.
I was like you, Manic Depression for me was a huge standout,
Cool.
but the drums in that are just fucking wild. This would have been, and I put this band that Hendrix had up there with the Elvis Presley band. Like, amazing musicians, and it would have been absolutely an experience every night to see this live. It wouldn't have been the same thing every night. These bands didn't have a show that they did the same every night. You know, this was, tonight's the night, and just go with me, because I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because either I'm too wasted on alcohol or drugs, or a combination of both, you know. But yeah, no, that was definitely a standout. I thought the energy was fantastic. Foxy Lady, Manic Depression, Fire, a Third Side or Stone, is it? From the Third Stone from the Sun? 8 out of 10 for me. Really good album.
Well, for mine, the opening of Foxy Lady is fantastic. I like the way it kicks off with that. The first thing that grabbed me, like you, was the production. I could write an essay on how well this was produced. If you all know me, you will know that I'm quite capable of doing that, but I won't. The choices in the panning alone is what makes this stand out. The guitars to one side, the vocal the other side, but then switching to the traditional approach, having the vocals in the centre, yet the guitar still to one side was really cool, and the drums and bass in the other side. So they really did play with the panning on this record in a really nice way. I appreciate it a lot. Even the double tracking complemented all that sort of stuff too. Chaz Handler's fingerprints are all over this in the production. He oversaw the different engineers at the different studios, and he was the one that recruited Noel Redding for bass and Mitch Mitchell for drums to play with Hendrix. So he was the one that was the brains behind the lineup kind of thing, and it was a master stroke from him. He chose the right people to give Jimmy the right amount of support and shine with him. The grounding stylistically in the blues is there, but Hendrix was above and beyond that by this stage already. His feel and his style were unlike anything else at the time, and not in a way that puts you off, but it's a captivating way. It drags you in. Still plenty of rock and balls, but you can just see how much art and talent he had for this. It's certainly unique. There were some different things going on this one. It's not boring, but it's still very accessible and easy to enjoy. It's not one of those ones that goes fucking way off the reservation. It's going to put off a lot of listeners. This is something that will drag you in for the duration. It's, you know, what you've got: rock, blues, jazz, lounge, psychedelic, a bit of prog, but it all flows really well on this record. One of the cool things for mine was the use of space, and just how much space there was within the songs for things to play out. The composition and the performances were fantastic to match that. You don't get a lot of that today.
You don't get bands writing songs and not worried about how long the song's going for.
Yeah. That's
the problem in music nowadays.
Yeah.
It gets to that 3 or 4 minute mark. Oh, well, that'll do because, we won't be able to get it on radio. You won't get on radio anyway.
Yeah, but the
Or
ones
you get a
that
2.5 minute song and you want to add stuff to it.
yeah,
It's like,
but then the other flip side is the ones that do go for are trying to jam as much as they can into that 7 minutes as opposed to letting things play out naturally, so to speak. So that's where you don't get this anymore. It's time-stamped in a vintage way. The sound and the feel is what gives you that vibe to it. But for me, it's still fresh. Like, you listen to it today and it still sounds really fresh. And there's something lively about this record and the way it's played and the way it's presented. It's really well done.
It's aged well.
Yeah, it has aged really well. I like the lyrics too. That was knocked out of the park. That was fucking fantastic. It's a complete album. Expertly put together. I think you can enjoy this thing from start to finish, but there are no dud tracks on this. It's fantastic. No flat spots, no duds. The impact is still really relevant in today's music on this record. I would have loved to have witnessed this live. 10 out of 10 from me. Foxy Lady, Hey Joe, Purple Haze, Stone Free, Are You Experienced, and 51st Anniversary, my standouts. That's a lot. Check it out for yourselves.
A lot for him.
Yeah, I know, and let us know what you think. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, Axis Boulder's Love. 13 tracks for 39 minutes. The second album from English-American rock band, released December 1967 by THRS Records. Produced by Chaz Handler, recorded at Olympic Studios in London. Only one actual single was released in this, and that was Up From The Skies, leading the album to peak at number 3 in the US, number 5 in the UK. This album was rather quickly done due to contractual obligations, which meant the band had to release 2 albums in 1967, and also had to be remixed after Jimmy left the master tape of Side 1 in a taxi. The only single and Little Wing remain staples. Sorry, only the single and Little Wing remain staples in the band's live set from this album. So it's got overlooked pretty quickly. Go for it.
A shame. 7 months after the release of Are You Experienced, contractual obligations aside, they really dished out a whole bunch of material in that 1 year. Always moving forward. As expected, there's different styles and textures on this album. There's still room for some experimentation. They've got the backwards guitar on this one as well, with Spanish Castle Magic, which they did on the Are You Experienced actual title track.
Yep.
Once again, it was recorded on 2 4-track machines. You have countless tracks these days, and people had to work a lot harder to get what they wanted back then. There was a lot of innovation, which was always cool. It's an interesting track flow as well. It kind of starts off in a more laid-back feel. Up From The Sky isn't what you would start an album with these days. You want to go for your punch, but it just kind of eases you into it. For the most part, the album is pretty mellow, though. It picks up the rock element with Spanish Castle Magic, the title track, but for the most part, it's very poppish and has a lot of swing. And not many tracks were performed live, which is a shame because it's actually a really cool album. Only Spanish Castle Magic and I think Little Wing. Noel Redding contributes a song, She's So Fine. Maybe it was tensions already brewing, because he was originally a lead guitarist, and he had to switch to bass, so you can see there might have been a bit of resentment there. In terms of lyric, I think he's already pushing away from the pop song structure that was kind of like the basis of Are You Experienced, and moving more into a poetic hippie outlook on life. Castle Made of Sand, it's often an overlooked song. It should have, what the hell did I write there?
Julia. It
just goes to show how good a storyteller he was with this song. I have to point out the guitar solo on the title track Boulder's Love. There's that quiet moment and he kicks back into that killer guitar solo, and it's just that way that he built structure into his songs, going for the dramatic effect.
I think it was dynamics more than anything.
Yeah, he
knew how to make dynamics more.
He knew how to build a song and just have that bang, that punch.
Yeah.
Not as good as Are You Experienced, but still an amazing album. I gave this 9 out of 10. Standouts were Boulder's Love, Spanish Castle Magic, Castles Made of Sand, Little Wing, Wait Until Tomorrow, If 6 Were 9, and Little Miss Lover.
Cool. For me, this suffers exactly what a lot of second or third album.
Yeah.
It's the record company pushing you too quickly, and it just doesn't work.
Yep.
This is not nearly as captured well in performance playing, but it's the songs that are just not there for me.
Yep.
And I think it's the fact that they've just rushed in and rushed right out. I don't know why record companies do it. They've done it to multiple artists, and it wouldn't have mattered if it had come out a year later. It would have been better, and it still would have sold regardless. Like it wouldn't have mattered. This album for me is very hit and miss. And when it misses quite big for me. I struggle to get through this one. It just did not grab me anywhere near as close as Are You Experienced.
I'll pay that. For sure.
But having said that, for covers other than Foxy Lady, there's bands that have done songs off this album, like Spanish Castle Magic. Malmsteen's done a fantastic version, especially live.
Cool song.
Oh, it's fucking great the way he done it. Little Wings, Skid Row did an amazing, I thought, representation of that.
As well.
So obviously it still holds a place with artists that we do love, that we probably would generally look at more often than not than a guitar player like Hendrix. I did find it grabbing me as the album went on.
Yep.
I didn't think it faded away like a lot of albums do. I thought it got stronger as it went on.
Yeah, it's a track order. It started off really laid back.
I think I wasn't experienced. I wasn't experienced. I'm definitely not experienced. I wasn't expecting.
It was an axis.
I wasn't expecting that that wasn't the direction I thought.
It just started off in an odd
Yeah,
way as
yeah,
well, which is
and that's a matter of taste, really. What the fuck do I know? Yeah, the low point for me was She's So Fine. Like,
Okay.
I just
Should have been a B-side.
It's
tacked on the B-side.
Didn't really work that well.
Yeah, no. Anyways, 6.5 out of 10 for me. Not the worst thing I've heard by a long shot, but in comparison to the first one, not even close.
Yeah, no, it does suffer from being the second album. The bar was fucking high with the first one, but not having enough time to go and spend on those songs has shown on this record. This one's more experimental and psychedelic as a general rule. You still get the riffs and the guitar work that you want from Hendrix, but there's less emphasis on that as opposed to the whole band performing. The lyrics have taken a shift on this one too, and to more... it's just weird, different territory compared to the first album. It's still organic, but it's a shift from the band in such a short time, which is off-putting compared to the first album. Production was more stripped back, it's raw, less polished. Works well for the band, but is again contributing to the shift. So it almost sounds like an entirely different band when you're picking up this one versus the...
This sounded like demos that weren't finished.
And I'll actually
where Tim said that the first album, I thought the first album was way more finished.
Yeah.
This sounded like demos, like his ideas, and we need to work on them more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
This is eclectic. I thought the order flowed well once you got into the record itself, but the trouble is that it comes so quickly after the debut and it isn't going to hit the heights that were set with that one.
Was this a concept album?
Don't think so.
No, but it kind of feels like
it's got
themes.
I think that
recurring themes.
I think what Hendrix ended up doing was he just had a vibe he was working through with everything he was working on, and he would just go through phases and movements of things creatively, which would give things a feel of being a concept, but it wasn't a concept kind of thing. That's what I think. I don't know. We got some different things on this one, like the recorder. Like there's a recorder on this record. Who's in other instruments on this too.
Who knew liked the recorder? No one liked the fucking recorder.
No one likes it today.
We learned BAG and that was it.
Hot cross buns. We also get the lead vocal from Noel Redding, which was cool. It shows the band is coming together a bit more. Like you were saying, the tensions, but I feel like the band are actually playing together a bit more as opposed to following Hendrix's pure lead on this record. But you haven't got the same spark that was present on the debut album on this record either. Where the debut was brilliant and captivating from the start, this one takes a few more spins to get your head around. Probably it needs time to grow on you. It's a bit of fun. It's not as good as the debut. It's still a good record, but the brilliance just isn't there on this one for mine, which makes it a really hard act to follow after the debut. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I picked Little Wing, Spanish Castle Magic, Little Miss Lover, and You Got Me Floating as my standouts. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. 16 tracks for 75 minutes, the third and final album, which is a double LP from the English-American rock band, released October 1968 by Reprise Records and Track Records. Produced by Jimi Hendrix, recorded at Olympic Studios in London and Record Plant and Mayfair in New York. 3 singles were released in All Along the Watchtower, Crosstown Traffic and Voodoo Child. The album peaked number 1 in the US, number 6 in the UK, did well across Europe. It spent 2 weeks at number 1 in the US, and the cover of All Along the Watchtower was the band's most successful and only top 40 hit, peaking at number 20. This was also the only work produced by Hendrix himself. It was something of a party in the studio while having a large number of guests roll through. Go for it.
Okay. This album has fantastic structure. There's various moods, styles, speeds, and ideas. You have your commercial songs, your album tracks, psychedelic section, experimental, political, and there's covers. And Hendrix brings a whole new life to All Along the Watchtower.
It's one of my favourite covers of all time.
It's no longer Bob Dylan's song, it's Hendrix, man. It just happened to be written by somebody else. This band is capable of so much. 1 year after their debut, and it's completely different to what you hear on How You Experience. There's a little bit, it's Jimi Hendrix, he's got his style, but it's so much more. It's like Hendrix on steroids. It's a logical progression too. Hendrix always pushed himself and he kept moving forward. He was never satisfied with what he's done and he was always looking for something new. I mean, I've heard like studio recordings where he'd like pour his heart into a solo for like 2 minutes and then right at the end it'd be like, okay, let's do it again. Straight away, he always thought he could do it better. There were 4 sides to the original vinyl and I tend to think they're divided into certain themes. Side A was like the introduction of what you would expect on this. Side B was party time. Side C gets psychedelic and atmospheric, and then side D was really the political and serious songs. Fantastic recording too. This was there's multi-tracks on most recordings. It's like he's in the room with you. It just kind of absorbs you when you listen to it. The second album to ever be recorded at the New York Record Plant studio, and it's the first one to have the state-of-the-art 8-track recording. 8 tracks, man! But they're still bouncing them down to single tracks to get more stuff to overdub. Hendrix is obviously the star, but he's humble enough he never thought of himself like that, and there's always rooms for the other musicians to shine. There's that section during 1983 and Mood Turns the Tide, where he lets the drums and bass turn over, which I loved. It's seasonal too. He kind of references summer and rainy day winters, and it's kind of like the whole ebb and flow of the universe, and Hendrix was kind of into that whole hippie stuff. It's a great album,
the
though.
60s.
Yeah. Whatever season it is, the album seems to fit. If it's a hot summer or a rainy day, you've got the song that'll fit it. A lot of innovation too. The crosstown traffic sound, that little it's the kazoo sound is actually a comb that's wrapped in cellophane. So, gotta love the jazz progression chords in some of these songs. He's really building upon the blues stuff. He's learning more every day. And House Bedding Down, I love that intro solo. Very Van Halen, 10 years before Van Halen. This album just gets 10 out of 10 from me. I love it. It's one of my desert album. Desert Island song albums. Yeah, I can't pick a standout. They're all good. If you haven't heard it, you're an idiot. But you can probably talk better than I can.
Well, you might be dead on the desert, so you might be saying it. So,
listen to a record over and over again while your batteries die.
For me, the production is getting huge now, and obviously popularity equals money. So the record company's going, "You're fucking killing it.
Build a record
some money.
Here's an extra $5."
Which was a lot back then.
Which is huge, huge money.
For drugs.
Hendrix just has a knack of taking you out of reality. You get sucked into the music, like you just forget everything. That's a gift. You can't be taught. No music teacher will ever teach. Either you got it or you don't. And he's one of the very few that you can get immersed in the music and just forget where you are. And I think that's just fucking fantastic. That even 40 fucking years later, or 50
almost
years,
50 years since he died.
It can still have those feelings, to someone that really hasn't gone back and listened. Like these, when I listened to these was for the first time. It's full albums. So, amazing art, I guess, to put.
Definitely.
To put into one word, it's fucking unbelievable.
Genuine art.
It's. You don't get artists like this anymore. Everyone's trying to write to a certain style,
kind of a thing.
It's
just what he had in him. He brought it out. He could actually do it.
I mean, how do you categorise this guy? It's really hard, but it doesn't sound like he's trying hard to do whatever he's doing. It just seems to be, like you said, natural and flows out. Is it Voodoo Chile or
Child?
Yeah. Child?
Yeah.
Voodoo Chili?
It's fucking
get lynched for that one.
What a masterpiece that fucking thing is. Christ. You know, I can't remember. It was a year ago that I heard it, but it was a good song back. That's why I wrote What a Masterpiece. So I must have liked it.
Almost a year ago we did this,
I must admit I'm not a fan of anybody else singing. And I get what you said. He was like, okay, you want to contribute or whatever it may be, but that took it away from me.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
But this definitely picks up where... This picks up from the first album more than it did the second album for me. It didn't bridge anything. It was kind of a weird
You can skip
spot.
the second album and go straight to this one.
100%.
Yeah.
Soul rock, rhythms, slight blues vibe, has everything you want, other than the fact that the albums are too fucking long.
Yeah, I do get that.
It's not long enough.
No, too long. Yeah, 8 out of 10. The low for me was Little Miss Strange. I just thought
Okay.
that was,
Oh, I like that song.
well, you're a big fan. I'm
Yeah.
just a guy listening to a guitarist. You know. Other than that, yeah, it's really, really good. And this should have been the second album.
Well, that's been covered off. That's the first thing that I said on mine. Is it's amazing how much this one flows on from the debut album onto this record. That it's there. This is the one you could really bypass Axis Bold as Love and just jump straight to this after the debut.
Well, that's a
album.
really cool title.
It is
Axis
very
Bold.
It's a very cool title.
It's a cool song.
That's about the best of it. Just the title. I could really
better
do
than
that.
the title.
That said, there are parts of this record. Here we
now.
go. There are parts of this record that wouldn't have happened without doing the work on Axis Bold Love. There's certain little bits that sound effects, stuff that were incorporated on this record that weren't done on the first one. So you can see how the second album had an impact on this one. I like the way this album was put together. Good attention to album craft, and I like the way things tie together across the board. The biggest example being Voodoo Child, but there are other little themes that carry through on this record as you're listening to it. It's not a concept, but there are things that just tie all together nicely. The flow between the tracks is really good. All the guests in the studio have found different ways to bring their elements to the songs on this one. It almost feels like an intimate live show at different times while listening to this one, which sort of, again, what you said, takes you away into the world that they were creating at the time. The spacing of the two epic tracks on this was really well thought out too. I think Noel Redding deserves another nod on this one. He puts me in mind of the Beatles in a weird way. I think he actually does a good job. I know it takes you out of it, but for me, having someone else come in and contrast things was a good way to sort of spice up the record for me, and especially with this one being a longer one, it made more sense to me. But I like how on this one, as opposed to Bold as Love, the guitar work was back to being front and centre on this record again. Some of the byplay between the guitar, the sax and the vocals was really impressive as well. This is a really well put together. There's not the single most accessible record going around, especially by today's standards, but it's really well done and it's genuine art done really, really well. I like the way that Hendrix can make the guitar talk. Very few people have ever gone close to what he was able to do in that regard. You combine that talking with the rhythm on this and it's just impressive. Some parts might get lost in the detail overall, but it's impressively engaging for a longer listen for me. While not as immediately impressive as the debut, this is still one hell of a listen that might just take you a little bit longer to get your head around it. Worth the time. I think they don't make them like this anymore. To all the guitarists out there, more like this, please. 9 out of 10. All Along the Watchtower, which, by the way, there was a really cool version done for the Battlestar Galactica soundtrack. Voodoo Child, Crosstown Traffic, Gypsy Eyes, and 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be was... Trippy fucking titles. Check it out for yourselves and let us know what you think. Jimi Hendrix, First Rays of the New Rising Sun, 17 tracks for 69 minutes. This is a compilation album from Jimi Hendrix, mostly made up of songs intended for his fourth album, released in April 1997 by MCA Records. Produced by Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Kramer, Mitch Mitchell, and John Jansen. This was the first release overseen by Experienced Hendrix, the family company took hold of managing Hendrix's legacy. Most of this was recorded in 1970 at Hendrix's own Electric Lady Studios in New York. The songs on this were in various stages of completion, and the best of many recordings were chosen for this by his longtime engineer Eddie Kramer and drummer Mitch Mitchell. Bassist Billy Cox is also on these recordings. Many of these songs have been released previously on other posthumous compilations, and there were no singles from this, but it did pick number 49 in the US, number 37 in the UK.
Yeah, so the compilation of mainly, there's the three that were released in the 70s. So this is probably a little bit more genuine of what the...
Closest to the real thing.
To what the fourth album probably could have been, because, we do suspect it would have been a double album, but... And, compared to the other posthumous releases, this one does flow a little bit better.
Feels more like a record.
Yeah, as opposed to a collection of recordings and cobbled together, which actually really does help it. Overall, again, while it is obviously Jimmy's playing on here, and obviously his voice comes across quite nicely and everything's quite well done. It is after all a cobbled together piece of unreleased songs, so it's really hard to judge it based on as a full album kind of thing. Overall, though, like I said, this one probably flows the best out of the lot. And having compared to what's the other one's name? Cry of Love, for example, you know. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's hard to know because it's impossible to know, but this is the actual Hendrix album anyway. So 8 out of 10. Dolly's Dagger for mine is the highlight. And yeah, it's hard to say though because this is, 30 years after the suspected release, and it does sound like a 60s album, and yeah.
It's a whole, both of these estates, things got a bit awkward with, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I've seen a documentary about this period of Hendrix, and it was interesting because he was kind of frustrated with the audiences that he was getting. He wanted to bring people together. That was what the band was about with music. But the experience drew predominantly the white audience, and the band of Gypsys was bringing the black audience. He wanted to bring everyone together, and that's what he was working to with the songs that ended up on this album. I think he would have achieved that because it's a remarkable mixture of rock, blues, jazz, and has a great deal of spirituality and the whole cycle of the earth that he was going with Electric Ladyland. So it's kind of like the next stage, and it sounds a little bit like hippie bullshit, but that's kind of like what I get from this album. It kind of covers life and earth and people and bringing everyone together. Overall, I just fucking love this album. It's an album. It's kind of like a collection of songs, but it's just not the finished product that we would have had. And the cool thing about recording techniques back in those days is they record the song from start to finish.
Yeah. And
they have so many different versions floating around, and he would always work towards honing those songs down. And we've got like the whole recorded archive of what he's got.
Yeah.
So you can see the process that he was going to.
Except the one he lost in the taxi.
Exactly. If someone's got that, it'd be a great bootleg. There's elements within these songs that kind of remind you of the previous album where he was coming from. But even though it's a different lineup now on this one, you gotta love going into some songs now. Gotta love Hendrix's opinion on Superman doing the song Astro Man. If that song was released today, and read the lyric sheet because I'm not saying it, but if that song was released today, the PC Squad would go into a full-on girlish fit. Fucking great, I love it. In terms of lyrics, while there are some moments of brilliance and some truly beautiful moments, it tends to pale in comparison to some of his previous works. It's just
He hadn't had a chance to finish it. That was
exactly. He was probably working it more. Yeah, like Tim said, it's really hard to rate this as a full complete album because it's just not there. There's even parts. There's little imperfections in the tracks. I mean, there's fade out and the fade back in on Easy Rider, and I love that Eddie Kramer left that in. It just gives that kind of, this is where we were at, but we never got to the next stage. And apparently Jimmy found that part hilarious when they were listening to it back. So. And that part during Hey Baby, New Rising Sun, where he asks us if the microphone's on, that's where they're at. Like I said, I love this album. It would have been interesting to hear the finished version, but it's just, there's an alternative universe out there that's a better world. Because Hendrix didn't die, and if it's one of those musicians that the world would have been a better place if he was still alive. Overall, I gave this 9 out of 10. Wow. Room Full of Mirrors, Easy Rider, Stepping Stone, Hey Baby, In From the Storm, and Astro Man. Easy Rider's fucking awesome.
That's a good song.
Well, I've got to note that for me, considering the detail of this album that's been covered up, it actually is put together pretty well from start to finish as far as these things go. I'm glad they went the way they did with this record. You can only hear little bits and pieces here and there that make this feel like there are some unfinished business when it comes to this album, but it's only a bit here and there. And for me, that kind of adds to the charm a little bit because you do know what you're getting out of this if you do a bit of digging on it. It's a really good, well-rounded album overall. The growth he'd experienced up to this point is certainly present and feels like the natural progression it would have been had he been able to finish this one off. You've got bits of everything he's done up to this point, but there's new territory being explored on this record as well. Production is fresh yet vintage. Everything's been captured and mixed really well. It still sits well today and it's warming when you listen to it. It's got the classic blend of vintage sounds and all that sort of stuff with there as well. I love the space again on this one. It's got the old school thing all over it. It's really well done. It's much more straight ahead when it comes to panning, but they've got good depth and space on it. For me, yes, you can hear it if you're listening for it, but if you just listen casually, it's hard to imagine this not as a complete album. It does flow that well, and it's all well put together. The hooks are present, the energy was there, the musicians are playing off each other well, it's really good. His expression and talent for songwriting is fucking undeniable. It's just, you sit there and go, fuck no, I know that you're talking about the alternate universe where the world is better because he was still there. We're lucky we got this,
yeah.
To be honest.
And there's so many different styles he could do. He could do the serious political stuff and just fun tracks.
Yeah,
you know, the hippie stuff, the experimentation.
There was no, and the thing about bringing people together, that was his core message, and you can feel that in the music. But just his ability to express that through music is unrivaled. I don't think anyone's getting close to that.
Not just lyrics. It's easy to do it with lyrics. So many people can, but the music actually does it as well.
Yeah, it's one of a kind, and it's a shame that we lost him. But again, appreciative of what we did get out of it. I think this is a really good listen that is probably what you were saying, the best of the cobbled together stuff to come. 8 out of 10 from me. Easy Rider, Dolly Dagger, Room Full of Mirrors, and Belly Button Window. That were my standouts. Check it out for yourselves and let us know what you think. Jimi Hendrix, Rainbow Bridge, 8 tracks, 42 minutes, a compilation album that was actually the second posthumous release from his label, released October 1971 via Reprise Records, produced by Jimi Hendrix, Mitch Mitchell, Eddie Kramer and John Jansen. Dolly Dagger was released as a single, and the album peaked number 15 in the US, number 16 in the UK. Overall, this album is a mix of live tracks taken from a show in Berkeley Community Theatre in California and studio recordings from studios in California and New York. Despite the cover art selling this as a motion picture soundtrack, none of the tracks here are actually from his performance on the film Rainbow Bridge. So work that one out. I don't know why. Go for it.
Alright, so First Rays of a New Rising Sun flows the best. This is the best one.
Yeah.
Right. This does feel like a compilation, but I think the songs on this one are better. And for mine, this is like the natural follow-on to the Band of Gypsys album.
Okay, yeah.
But what's amazing for me is that this was recorded in, 1971, 1970, around about?
It was released 71, so it was all recorded before that, yeah.
Yeah, so what's incredible for me is that this sounds like a Parliament Funkadelic album who got famous in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
And you can hear like Eddie Hazel and George Clinton and all that listening to this going, okay, so this is what we've got to recreate.
Yeah.
This kind of weird mix of, early gospel, church music stuff mixed in with that 60s rock and roll and that high gain stuff, and finding a way to mesh it together and create a cohesive album. And again, like, this is a compilation, so it isn't quite as cohesive as it otherwise could have been. But for mine, that is incredible if you think that the innovation that this guy had, that a lot of people don't even realise that he had. I mean, people look at the Red Hot Chili Peppers today and go, that's an original sound, no one sounds like that.
Yeah. Come back in time a bit further.
Keep going. Here we go. Look Over Yonder is actually my highlight. That's a good track. And as mentioned before, Dolly Dagger, 8.5.
Nice.
So my first line was, I can only assume this is some kind of greatest hits album. No. So I think we've covered that. The psychedelic version of Star Spangled Banner was fucking crazy good.
Yeah,
like, that was just cool. A whole different take. I've never heard it like that. I've only known other bands, like especially Kiss do it, and a few bands that I'm really into. But that was just like something out of this world. Yeah, it really fitted the
whole story of that with Woodstock as well is someone else.
Yes, you can tell it afterwards. It's my turn. Again, the production is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, fuck me. Like,
don't make them like they used to.
But there's that. But then, even then, they're pushing boundaries in production.
Yeah.
Like, it's
the only other band that wasn't production for the sake of producing. It was production to capture art.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's also an art to be able to get it right.
Yeah.
And, Led Zeppelin had a unique sound and a few others, but Jesus, as a balanced product, there's not much better going on than fucking this, like all these albums that we've been speaking about. Just amazing album. For, I guess, a greatest hits or whatever, it actually just covers it off quite nicely. It's a good collection. It has everything that you know Jimmy to be, and maybe a few things that you might have gone, oh, okay, I didn't know that was part of the package as well. Yeah. So for me, it was a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Cool. Really, really good sort of bringing it together of the whole experience of Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
Hear My Trainer Coming, Hey Baby, New Rising Sun were the songs that really stood out for me.
Yep.
And but overall, that's probably the one I would go and get.
Yep. Okay.
If I needed something that was gonna,
it would cover it off for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this one does get into territory that has been covered previously on other records we've done, a part of Hendrix's legacy is that's going to be a case as we move through them. But this album kicks off with a favourite of mine in Dolly Dagger, but there are still quite a few newer tracks on this to enjoy. I'm glad the estate have taken control of things, like it's his family that are actually really trying to make sure his legacy is looked after on this one. It's remarkable how cohesive this is, like the mix of the live and the studio and stuff. It's really well done. The production is bang on. The track order is good too. Despite certain hard feelings being thrown around about these recordings as a consumer, so to speak, these are all damn fine products that don't tarnish things at all.
You can't get too nitpicky.
No, but people do, unfortunately.
You know.
I think everyone involved in this should be proud of their work. I think it's a really well done product.
Yeah.
Hendrix was clearly exploring and honing his craft at the same time at this point in time. He shows that while keeping it all together, which is a neat trick. Nobody can do that either. The Star Spangled Banner, that fucking what? Like, that's his most experimental piece yet, and it's an iconic piece of music. It just shows you kind of the bit of the.
It's not offensive.
No,
although it's completely different.
It's just art. It's just
because I can see people go, "Oh, what are you doing to our song or whatever?"
Yeah.
But no, you don't get that. It's just I'm going to do it my way.
And it was genuine too. Like the feel of it was really cool for mine. Trippy as fuck, but it's well done. It's hard to believe that the anthem track is also a solo track. If I'm correct, he did all of that himself, which is just what the fuck. Shows a whole new level of mastery for his craft when you're getting into this.
Well,
point
so
of
he
his
should.
career.
He can get lazy at times. I'm kidding.
He's almost sort of exploring soundscape territory on this one. The live track is a great showcase about how the improv side of things worked so well from the live environment and those around him. They all knew how to play off of each other really, really well, which is cool. And while this does cross over with First Rays and New Rising Sun with a few tracks, this is also a completely different beast to that record. This plays out really well as a complete album that is actually quite vintage in the way it's been put together for mine. It's a good listen, shows some new things while blending other known things in really well. Sounds good, it's a complete product and well executed. I think this is really good. You're past those iconic tracks that everyone knows by now, but these deeper cuts are well worth listening to.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. Yeah.
8.5 out of 10 from me. Earth Blues, Hear My Train A Comin', Parley Gap, and Hey Baby. They were my standouts. So check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Jimi Hendrix, The Cry of Love. 10 tracks, 40 minutes, a posthumous compilation album released March 1971 via Reprise Records, produced by Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Kramer and Mitch Mitchell. Recorded between 1968 and 1970 at Electric Lady Studios and Plant and Sound Center in New York. Just the one single was released in Freedom. This album picked number 3 in the US, number 2 in the UK. It's well received at the time of release, and the songs slated for this were instead released on Rainbow Bridge, with others also appearing on First Race. This is where we start to get into the real crossover territory of his catalogue.
So, as a standalone album, I actually think this is fine. If you go through the category of Hendrix albums from start to finish, I feel like this one's the odd one out. Because it kind of feels like, when he starts off as, this kind of blues rock thing and keeps going into the more psychedelic territory and you go into like the more sort of gospel style things, and you go back to this and it kind of feels a bit more like a rock album.
Yeah.
And for mine, that does kind of feel like a bit of producer maybe trying to give people what they want rather than...
Yeah, it does feel a bit like that.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing, and these songs would have appeared on the 4th album anyway, but as we've seen later, when you hear it in full context with, the double album context, then it makes sense. But as a standalone track, it feels like they picked all the rock tracks and gone, this might sell better.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And, so for mine, as a standalone piece, it's actually fine, and there's some actually really good songs on it, but listening to it, as I've said before, again, it's obviously Hendrix is playing on here, he's playing his flaws. The thing that I do like about this is his vocals actually sound quite fantastic.
He got better as it went on. Like, he was never bad, but he just kept improving.
Yeah, it's as if he got more confident.
Yeah,
he was more confident in his voice, and he was, happier, and especially, as strange as it sounds, with him not being there, the producer could actually put him up in the mix a little bit.
He kept saying put him down. That's what's the problem.
Yeah.
Alive.
And I mean, he's got a nice voice. It's really smooth tone. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Angel and In From the Storm are my highlights, and 8 out of 10.
Cool. Most of the material on here is from First Rays and the New Rising Sun, which would have been what they were intending, but it's covered. Interesting to listen to this in a different form, because it's all you had at the time, so this would have been great just after his death. Most of his fans are devastated, so they get some new music from him, which would have been amazing. It's also interesting to hear this in a slightly different mix. There's some subtle differences. I don't know enough about production to tell you exactly what they were, but it just sounds a little bit different. The later release with Eddie Kramer over supervised, it sounds different. Regardless of production and packaging, Hendrix is always awesome to listen to. 9 out of 10. I just love these songs. Easy Rider, Straight Ahead, Astro Man, and In From the Storm.
This is where it gets tricky dealing with it, because so much of this has been covered on previous releases when we get to this point. When we were originally at the battle, it was kind of hard to find the right number of albums to balance things out, so this one was sort of like almost, not an afterthought, but it was like, okay, we need numbers to make it all even up.
Yeah.
So what was remarkable about this one for me was just how well captured everything that he ever did was. So regardless of who was what high on the studio or whatever else, everything was still very well captured, and that was amazing in itself. And there's a lot of lessons in that for if you're sitting in a studio and you've got always have the record button on for starters, and always capture everything to the best of your ability, because you never know how it's going to get used down the line. Panic Tricks are back on this one. I thought they worked really well, and I loved how the sound echoes left to right so completely. This also has the individual tracks standing out while you're listening to it too. If you want lessons on panning, listen to the early Hendrix stuff, because fuck, it was used integrally as part of the presentation of these songs, which also I think would have aided again in the live setting, because you did always get the left and right of the guitars and stuff back then too, which is cool and different. Another thing about this being a compilation is it shows how solid he was as an overall writer. We're starting to find other songs, like there's songs that have been done before, we're finding more and more deeper cuts, and none of the deeper cuts come across as hacked off, halfway done songs. They're all well done. Like nothing is bad in all these stuff that Hendrix felt it wasn't good enough to release yet, but they're all really good.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, what a prick.
Yeah, I know. Like it's just interesting. He was
still finding stuff.
I know.
Through the tapes. They're still releasing compilation albums.
There was one this year or last year.
The Valley of the Neptune is actually really good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. He was such a good storyteller, and I love how the Foley use on this record accented that side of things on this record. This does feel like a nice standalone album. It's really well done. I think it needs to be taken on its own merit. I know it's like we do have the whole thing where you've got this album, that album, there's so much crossover, but take each one on its own merit and take the journey for what it's worth in the 40 minutes to an hour that you're going to listen to these things for. I think that if this is one to go to if the first Raise the New Rising Sun doesn't do it for you, this is the one to jump to instead of that. The single from this one makes the album alone worth the merit of doing it. 8 out of 10. Freedom, My Friend and Angel are my standouts. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Jimi Hendrix, Band of Gypsys. 6 tracks for 45 minutes, a live album from Jimi Hendrix, and the first without his original group. Released March 1970 via Capitol Records, produced by Hendrix himself. Recorded at Fillmore East in New York City with Billy Cox on bass and Buddy Miles on drums. This is the lineup that became known eventually as Band of Gypsys. Hendrix struggled with the production due to subpar recordings and was never completely happy with this product. Though the album did go top 10 in both the US and the UK, the song was made up of previously unreleased work and was created to settle a contract dispute in the end.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, it feels like a P-Funk live concert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. If you've ever seen Parliament, or if they ever play in your area, go watch them. As it's very much a lot like watching a Band of Gypsys concert. What this is loosely based in sort of psychedelic rock, but you can really hear the sort of black gospel churches coming through in this one. And I know Hendrix was frustrated with, as you said before, the different audiences drawing different groups. And again, to reference them again, it's partly why P-Funk had 2 bands with 2 different names.
Yeah.
Is that you said the rock band, the rock tracks would go under one name to one radio station, and the gospel tracks would go to the other ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hendrix intended to do the opposite, but in a way, kind of achieved the same goal. For mine, if I was at this gig in person, I would have loved every second of it.
Yeah.
Because this would have been insane. As a record, listening to it, it does feel like a bit wank. and a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It is a little like, I mean, like, you know, the breakdown with like the one like vocal line going over the top of the drum beat in the last like 3 minutes. And it's like, okay, cool. At a live gig, you can kind of vibe on that. When you're listening to it at home, it's kind of like, man, I got shit to do, man. Hurry the fuck up. You know, so from that standpoint, it is a little bit much. But from, you know, musicians getting together and playing music, this is flawless.
Yeah.
Machine Gun and Changes are my highlights. I give it 8.5 out of 10.
Nice.
This is always an amazing listen. Performing with Billy Cox and Buddy Miles brought out a whole new side to Hendrix that we hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
And the music on this live album is a lot more serious than anything he'd done to this point, but it still has a lot more swing, and there's a lot of fun with what they're doing. It's more complex arrangements as well. But how good is Machine Gun? Fuck, I love that song. And the lyrics are so straight to the point. Machine gun tearing my body all apart. Evil man make me kill you. Evil man make you kill me. The lyrics and music just fit this theme perfectly.
It's still pertinent today.
Oh, it's fucking amazing.
That little intro guitar bit. It just kills.
Yeah. There's a couple of performances the band and Gypsys did at the Fillmore, and they did a couple of different versions of this. There are other releases that they did released after Band and Gypsys, and every version is different. But it's just old school songwriting where it's just like, this is the structure of our song. Pay attention to what I'm doing, and you're gonna have to go with me because we're gonna go into different places. And that's what bands did back then. It was fucking great.
Frank Zappa or anyone?
Yeah, exactly. But you had to be paying attention.
You had to be good at it.
Yeah. Love the contribution from Billy Miles. Changes and We Gotta Live Together. It's awesome that Hendrix was happy to let other people in his band take the spotlight. That's just what he had all the skill and talent to be that asshole.
He never was.
But he never was. He was very humble. In recent... forget about that. This is a precursor to what he would progress into with First Rise and the New Rising Sun, when he would bring other elements of his music back and move forward. But it's always great just going to this time period in his life and just hearing this music. It's amazing. 9 out of 10. Machine Gun, Changes, Power to Love, and We Gotta Live Together.
Well, for an album that's supposed to be out of subpar recordings, this is pretty fucking well done.
Again, prick.
Yeah. Fuck me. I would love... Can you imagine being in the vault with all the tape of everything he's ever done? You'd be lost for years in there, surely. The shared vocal duties on this one were an interesting touch to this. Everyone gets to take the lead, which is really cool. This is like a jam band record, and it flows, and it's a bunch of good performers putting on a really good show. There's some very tasty use of feel and space. This is the era for that. You don't get as much of this anymore today. But this is also very tight, a lot tighter than you might think when you hear about a live jam band kind of thing. This is very well executed. Love the lyrics, loaded with some intense meaning has been covered off here. Certainly influenced by the era as well. This man and his work is teaching not only the generation of his time, but also generations today, I think, if they listen to it. Machine Gun feels like the natural successor to Voodoo Child for me. It's an epic centerpiece kind of thing that's really well performed. Fades on some songs take you over, they don't at the same time. It's a really nitpicky thing, like my whole thing about where you get the fading on certain songs and takes you in and out. It's a very small nitpick on this record. Otherwise, fucking hell, like I said, subpar performance or recordings, like no, not really. This record is cool because it gives you a feel for the presence they had on stage. None of us got to see it, so you get to feel some of that presence at least. And yeah I get what you mean about, some things drag on a bit much, but when you just want to sit back with it, it's really cool. The energy changed on this, sort of ebb and flow and take you away to drift and then bring you back into focus as required for this. This is a really cool record with great crowd interaction as well. I thought that was well executed too. It's ballsy, funky, fun, energetic, and maybe a little bit hippie, but it's a snapshot of the time and fantastically well done. It may not be as seminal as other, performances in Hendrix's career that everyone talks about, but this is really cool, and I love the vibe and how the room was also captured on this as well. How the room, like subpar recordings, my ass, mate. You had the whole band and you had the whole room captured and mixed really well. I want more like this out of a live record. The way this is done, so it's cool. 9 out of 10 from me. Machine Gun, Changes, Message to Love, We Gotta Live Together. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think.
Hi, welcome to this week's Gig Guide. I'm Jodie.
I'm Andrew, still filling in for Nikki. We're going to get the routine sorted out eventually.
Yes. All right, kicking it off. First off, want to say a special thanks to Alt Cult, Rockstar Finance, Hydra Rehearsal Studio, and Squid Ink Screen Printing for their support.
Cheers, guys. Also, make sure you look up the events that interest you online for more information.
Starting off Saturday, October the 5th, Sharkfest 2019 at Lock 11 Lawns in Mildura, featuring Super Heist, Terminal Zero, Envenomed, Bobby Danger, Headstone Villains, Idle Suburbia, Suspended Animation, Carly Jewel, Of Axiom, and Jats Crackers, and more.
That's a big one. We also have Heavy and Hammered at the Tote. More than 20 bands are on this lineup, including Barbarian, Frankenbach, 29 Bones, Fuck the Fifth Row Doom Scene, Palace of the Kings, Dusk, The Black Tides, and many, many more.
Many, many, many more. And on top of that, Dirt River Radio are launching their new album, Just for Kicks, at Memo Music Hall. Supports are yet to be announced.
Yeah. October 8th through 13, Buckcherry and Hardcore Superstar are on tour, playing Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney with national support from Bad Moon Born.
Awesome. On Saturday, October the 12th, Rock Pit's 10th anniversary celebration at the Evelyn Hotel and features Palace of the King, Warbirds, who are launching their new album, Order from Chaos,
Yep.
Echo Del Tusca, The Silent Deeds, and Delico Rio.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Friday, October 25, Ablaze are having a go-away gig before they jet off to Europe, as you would have seen on our recent episode. They're at Revolver Band Room with support from the Medettas and Riff Raiders, so tickets are available via Ablaze's Possible campaign page.
On Saturday, October the 26th, Red Star Born are having a special launch gig for their new album Pariah at Matthew Flinders Hotel, along with Torrential Thrill, who are also launching a new single with The Pass Outs and Eat the Damn Orange.
Yep, another ripping lineup for you all. Saturday, November 30, Espionage are playing the Evelyn Hotel, where they'll be filming their brand new video, along with support from Sabaya, Tyrant, and Vicious Addiction. So get on down there and get yourself a video clip.
From October the 5th to December the 21st, the Black Aces are on tour launching their new EP, Never Change, playing central and regional locations across Victoria, ACT, and NSW.
Yeah, and then December 11 through 15, Marty Freeman is on tour, playing Sydney, Brisbane, Canberra, and 2 shows in Melbourne. First one, I believe, is sold out. I'm pretty sure the second one's close to that as well. With support from Trigger nationally, also Temptress, Wartooth, Manosphere, Hidden Intent, Demon Head, and Espionage, along with many more support bands on the different gigs as well.
And as always, lineups are subject to change, so keep up to date with those that interest you via Facebook. Plus, hit us up on Facebook if there is something that you would like for us to plug.
Yes, and always, again, a special thanks to Alt Cult, Rockstar Finance, Hydra Rehearsal Studios, and Squid Ink Screen Printing for your support.
Now, going to throw over to Warbirds, Freaking the Night.
As always, rock up
With your frock on.
Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, Texas Flood, 10 tracks, 38 minutes, the debut studio album of the American blues rock band, released June 1983 via Epic Records, produced by the band along with Richard Mullen, recorded at Downtown Studio in California and Riverside Sound in Texas. 2 singles were released in Love Struck Baby and Pride and Joy, with a video made for the former which received regular rotation on MTV. Yes, we have well and truly moved through the generations now.
Oh, yeah.
This album was recorded in a total of 3 days, while Caesar takes up the entire shot. The album picked up 38 in the US and has gone 2 times platinum in the region, along with platinum in Canada, gold in France and New Zealand, as well as silver in the UK. Go for it.
All right. So there are parts of this that were tough to listen to. Primarily, all right, I'm going to be trying to be fair here. Primarily the songwriting.
Okay.
The guitar playing is flawless. Stevie's voice is fantastic. But for me, this does feel like a run-of-the-mill bar blues band.
There's a lot of 12-bar blues in this.
Yeah, and with a gun guitar player. The other thing was, for me, the mix really pissed me off.
Okay.
Because it is, again, I know it's Stevie Ray Vaughan, but it is really guitar heavy. And it does kind of feel like a guitar karaoke thing, YouTube video at times.
Okay. Yeah, I get what you mean with that.
Yeah, and again, I know I'm just pissed off like 90% of the audience, but whatever. It is, and it is very much, you know, dun, 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 dun. It's like after, you know, again, it's a 50-minute thing. But like I said, you know, the guitar playing is flawless, and then I suppose this is what people want out of this kind of style.
Yeah.
Where am I? But the problem is that compared to the other classic sort of blues albums, there's not really too much to distinguish this from other albums and some that we'll get to later. 7 out of 10.
Okay, cool.
Damn.
Yeah, go on.
The story about how this album came into being is really interesting. Stevie Ray Vaughan performed at Montreux and they hated him. He actually got booed from start to finish, and it's very painful to listen to. And it's been released too, so you can actually check that out.
Oh, okay.
But while he might have been booed by the crowd, there were two people in the audience that started his career, basically. One was David Bowie.
Yep.
Got Stevie Ray Vaughan to play on the Let's Dance album, so all the solos on that album are actually Stevie Ray Vaughan. The other one was Jackson Brown, and Jackson Brown offered him his recording studio to record some music.
Okay, cool.
The result being this album.
Yeah.
This was actually meant to be a demo. It was recorded in 3 days, and when they heard it, when the record company heard it, they offered the money to remix, remaster, and actually release it. So that's how this album came into being.
Cool.
For something that was meant to be a demo, this is actually amazing. Hook-driven blues in various different forms. You get the slow blues ballads, and you get the more up-tempo ones with plenty of swing. You can hear the enthusiasm in the band. They knocked these songs out in a couple of days. It's just like, okay, we've got 3 days to do it. Bang, we're just going to play it. We're not going to worry about anything. You listen really closely, you can hear the pick raking across the strings, and it's a subtle thing, but it's a very big part of his style. And considering how heavy his string gauge was and how fucking loaded his guitar was, all 5 springs were in the back of the setup. It's like the heaviest gauge, and yeah, it's just fucking awesome tone. Vaughan's vocals tend to get overshadowed by his guitar playing, but I think he's got a pretty decent.
He's a good vocalist.
Yeah, his vocals are great.
Yeah. It doesn't have the biggest range, but what he had, he used really well. For people who hasn't heard this before, and people are just. If you like the blues-based rock music and you haven't really experimented with blues, this is kind of like the gateway from rock into the more mainstream blues. I put it a step in between.
Yeah.
9 out of 10, my standouts were Lemmy, Mary Had a Little Lamb, Pride and Joy, Love Struck Baby, Texas Flood, and Testify.
Wow, okay. It's been covered. If you like 12-bar blues, you're going to like this. If not, you're probably not going to like this. Very neat, clean and clear in the production. Everything sits where it's supposed to for the style, but they've really kept the live vibe, which is really cool on this. You can feel that you are in that smoke-filled blues bar on this record. If that's your thing, you're going to enjoy it. Again, if it's not, then you're not going to enjoy this one. This is like being in a bar, a live band take without the chatter that goes in the room. That's what this feels like. Really warm, great tones. I think it's very clean enough without stripping its soul, which is good. But I think the performances are pretty good on this one. Every member is incredibly talented, and their composition on each track is damn impressive if you're a fan of the genre. This falls down, though, for me, it's not to do with talent, because that's fantastic on this, but this doesn't do a lot to jump out from the pack in a musical sense listening to it. It is very 12-bar blues, it's very repetitive. There's not enough here to go, that's a fucking fantastic record. It's well done, it's good for what it is, it's well presented, well mixed for mine, everyone plays well, it's all those things. But for me, the core of it all is it just feels like a 12-bar blues band playing 12-bar blues, and it doesn't do anything to jump out from you. Like, you got a great guitarist and a really good vocalist, but again, not that uncommon.
Especially in like a blues genre. Like, I mean, a 12-bar band with a great guitarist is
what is required.
It's
entry
everywhere.
level.
Yeah.
So I think this would have been better served by changing up the track order, because it does get too repetitive in a lot of spaces here. It's a good listen with good performances. I do think also that Mary Had a Little Lamb could have been cut in favour of something a bit more diverse on the record. I didn't think that was required. You can appreciate Vaughan's talent on this, but this is too much of a same tempo album to really get into it properly. It's one for hardcore fans wanting to start a journey. I don't think it's a gateway record quite the same way that you do.
Okay.
There is an abundance of talent on it. It's just it needed more diversity to make it an interesting listen versus just going through the motions kind of thing. It is very good though. I still enjoyed it. I gave it 7 out of 10. Lenny, Rude Mood, Pride and Joy, and Testify. My standouts. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble couldn't stand the weather. 8 tracks for 38 minutes for the original issue. Second studio album of the American blues rock band, released May 1984 by Epic Records, produced by the band along with Richard Mullett and Jim Kapfer. Recorded at Power Station in New York, the title track appears to have been the only single on this one, taking number 31 in the US, but commercially doing well, selling over 1 million records in its first 5 weeks. It's also went platinum in both Canada and New Zealand. Go for it.
Alright, things are starting to get a little bit better. Mix is much better, sounds a little bit more like a band.
Yep.
Playing together rather than, as I said before, guitar karaoke. There's also a little bit more variety in the tracks as well, so start to finish is a much easier listen to get through. Things aren't as repetitive and following that same rhythm over and over again. Once again, as mentioned, Stevie's guitar playing is flawless. I mean, we're doing this, next to Jimi Hendrix. Stevie's, from a technical, is more of a textbook guitar player, and he's much cleaner and things like that. But, obviously Hendrix has got his own thing going on. But I feel like listening to this as opposed to Texas Flood, I feel like we know a little bit more about Stevie Ray Vaughan, the guitar player. A bit more of his soul in this. And a bit more of a understanding of who he is as a musician and what he's trying to get across, as opposed to trying to do the blues thing and just go through it. Overall, though, I think it's still got I don't think this is the greatest blues album of all time, but it is a great follow-on from the first one. Stang Swang is actually my highlight, and 8 out of 10.
Cool.
Yeah, this one for me had a slicker production, more on the rock side. Like either it's more money or just trying to break into another market. So I think he would have been very pigeonholed in the market that he would have appealed to.
On the last album, yeah.
So I thought it was a continuation from the last effort.
This is him trying to get out of Texas a bit more.
Yeah.
But I thought that the production made it more, maybe some rock heads that are strictly that vibe.
This is the one that's more of a game record.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It still has all the blues and even some country elements at times. So he hasn't deviated from what Stevie Ray Vaughan either. That's what I do. This is who I am.
Yeah.
It definitely has that Texas feel. Every release.
Yeah.
I've never been to Texas, but I'm assuming, and that's the feel of Texas.
I'm sure the people in Texas can let us know.
Yeah, just email would be fine. So.
Do they have email there?
Well, I've got horse and cards still, I believe.
They're still fixing the Alamo.
I felt this to be a stronger release overall than the previous ones. I actually could listen to this one. I found it very hard to get through previous efforts.
Yeah.
Just because it's a style. It's more of a stylistic thing for me. It's not a style I'm really into.
Very predicated by taste.
Yes, 100%. Couldn't Stand the Weather. Look at Little Sister, Voodoo Child, Come On Part 3, the 1994 version, and Honeybee were my standouts.
Yep.
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Well, from the start, this one sounds bigger and better than the debut. Leading off with a tasty instrumental to show off some chops is a nice way to kick off this record for me. Songwriting is much better on this one. Still based in the 12-bar blues. You still have, this is a blues bar band. This is, that never goes away. But this has genuine soul in it, and the performance is much more unique in their own right. This is a band feeling like a band on this record. Some great tones are captured on this, some really nice depth given in the reverb. This is mixed really well. The vocals are back just a touch, which actually suits the style of this record nicely too. But the guitar shines on this as it should. You still get the 12-bar blues like has been said, but they've progressed beyond that into much more well-rounded writing and performances across the board on this one.
I think it's tempos too. They kind of picked up some tempos, and that kind of helped for me.
They've also added a bit more feel and played with the space more on this one. It's not just dun dun dun, dun, dun the whole way through. This one,
they've added a little ghost notes here and there, and
they've played with some space a bit more, which helps.
That's where it pushes the rock element for me. It's just a little bit more spontaneity.
Bit of swing.
It might be on purpose, but it came across as spontaneity. So
that was cool.
Yeah,
it's weird to get a cover of another person we're talking about it. Like we get Stevie Ray Vaughan covering Jimi Hendrix. It's a cool little weird thing in this. It's classy though for me. He doesn't try to be Hendrix. He knows he's not going to be, so he does things his own way and still has enough respect for the original in there as well. I thought it was very well done. It's got good track order diversity. Closing with another instrumental was a nice touch on this as well. And I went how they went back to the lounge setting a bit and added a bit of saxophone on that too. And so this shows some growth in a lot of ways from this. This is more enjoyable than the debut for mine. This is the one that impressed me, and you didn't have to work to get into this one. This one was able to take you with it pretty easily. Has a bit of everything, pretty accessible as well. There's an epic, there's a cover, and there's different elements that have been captured pretty well on this one. It's opened up some very cool doors to see where this band goes next. 8.5 out of 10. Couldn't Stand the Weather, Scuttle Button, Tin Pan Alley, and Stang's Twang were my standouts. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, Soul to Soul. 10 tracks, 40 minutes. The third studio album with the American blues rock band, released September 1985 by Epic Records. Produced by the band Richard Mullen, recorded at Dallas Sound Lab in Texas. 2 singles were released in Looking Out the Window and Look at Little Sister. However, a music video was also created for Change It, which was another one that went well on MTV. The album peaked number 34 in the US and has gone platinum in that region as well as gold in Canada and New Zealand. Go for it.
Cool. The best of both worlds, actually. This is where we took what was great about the first 2 albums and took them to the next level with Soul to Soul. Bigger and some additional instruments with guest keyboard and saxophone players. And it really brings a whole new dynamic to his playing in the songs. I'm not sure what he's done, but the guitar tone on this tends to sound different to the previous albums. It changes a couple of times, actually. They get the rock edge in some things where it's pushed more that way, and then at other points it's more jazzy. Well, Vaughan has the ability to cover songs and make them his own. 6 out of 10 songs is a bit much, and it's disappointing considering he actually knows how to write a good song. It's a minor gripe, and it's just my thing, but we'd have liked to have been at least a little bit more even, but yeah, 6 out of 10 of covers, yeah, disappointing. Regardless, the playing throughout is spot on from all involved, not just Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's got a great band with him. It's interesting to point out the covers on this album. Come On Part 3 was actually covered by Hendrix on Electric Ladyland, and to be honest, with this one, not Booty Child on the previous album, but with Come On, Vaughan actually does a better job covering this song than Hendrix did.
Okay, cool.
I wrote it's really hard to pick standouts on this album, but I actually listed 6 out of 10, so I don't know what
all the covers.
That'll be funny if it is.
Yeah.
8.5 out of 10. Say What, Looking Out the Window, Ain't Gonna Give Up on Love, Gone Home, Empty Arms, and Come On. Cool.
Yeah, for me this is more of the same. You definitely know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you do know what you're getting with
He
this.
doesn't deviate too much. Like, he doesn't bring too many elements in. Like, the shuffle is in full swing. Like, especially in the first track, it's like, yeah, you're kind of killing me now a little bit. Like, it's only because it's a taste thing.
Yeah.
It's not my thing, you know. So to go and listen to album after album and it's the same.
It's a bit of punishment. If
You
it's
know,
not your thing,
it's a bit of a,
Blame me, not Vaughan.
Yeah, I'm blaming you. But in Say What, the use of the organ in that I thought was a nice touch, and it refreshed my ears.
Yeah.
Anything that he brought in was always an addition. It wasn't so much a distraction.
Yeah.
Or it didn't lessen anything. It actually always enhanced
Yeah.
a song, and I did like that. This is definitely a more energetic release. Some of them, they were plotting a little bit for my liking, and again, it was tempo, so I thought some things could have been picked up a little bit more. But I do get the blues as a feel.
Yeah,
it's a mood and it's a moment. So you've kind of, but it's a taste thing. It's just I like my music a little bit more tempo.
Yep.
There is some somber elements on this and some dynamics and stuff. Like the mood does take you away at moments in time. It's some great back and forth between the guitars and the keys at times. I thought was cool. I really liked the call and answer between the 2 instruments. I thought that was really, really cool. But overall, as an album, if I have to go and choose, I'd always go back to Hendrix because Hendrix always brought the rock, even if he didn't really intend to. It seemed to be a part of his inner soul. Yeah, Vaughan is more of a blues guy, you know, and so I had to pick the 2. I'm always probably going to go Hendrix. Having said that, I do have a huge respect for the authenticity of what he does. You know, because you really feel it's real. You know, like it's not put on. It's not. I play this style and I'm trying to cash in. It's just what he fucking does. You know. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Say What, Change It, and Come On Part 3 are my standouts.
Okay. Well, right from the start, you know what you're getting. It's more, based in the 12-volt blues again, but they're colouring more outside the edges on this release for mine. I thought the production was nice and warm. Stevie gets better and more confident vocally with each release. He's never bad, but he just continues to grow in confidence as we go along. I love the way the saxophone was mixed on this one as well. That was cool. It added a nice rich tone to things, and I like the way it complemented the guitar on this. The use of the reverb and the keyboards on this was really well done too. It's got a nice deft touch that serves the song as well. This album has a nice warm rumble about it when you listen to it for one, which is really inviting for me. The growth and the exploration of the guitar work was another improvement for mine, as was the space and the writing. You can see improvement through the releases from Vaughan. in my opinion, up until this point. And I like how different elements are going to take the lead on this. It's not just, not the guitar karaoke of the first record. It's not purely 12-bar blues like we have had until this point. There's more, and different things are coming in. They're playing off of each other on this record. I know that there's a lot of covers on this, but the way they've done them and the way they presented them was really well done.
Yeah, you wouldn't think they were covers.
No,
you don't know the
he's
songs.
owned these songs. They feel like
Gypsys.
Stevie Ray Vaughan songs. That's the cool part.
Yeah.
It also makes this one a bit more accessible for me as well. It's got some cool swagger. There's some sway in this one. It's not just purely 12-bar to the grid. It's like they've got some sway going on, which is cool. There's some feel. This is a cooler release for mine. There's some good hooks as well. It's something of a surprise up until this point. You don't expect hooks by now, but he's starting to deliver them on this record. And this is the album that makes me want to sort of kick back with like a nice earthy bourbon or scotch if that's your thing, and just sort of sit back on the armchair with the the sun out or the sun going down, and just sit back with this one in the background. This is really cool. It's a lot of fun to take in. I thought it was nice, diverse, well performed, and well rounded. It's got a good flow. I thought this is the album I'd recommend people start with Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. Change it, look at Little Sister, Come On Part 3, and You'll Be Mine. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble in Step, 10 tracks, 40 minutes, the fourth studio album for the American blues rock band, released June 1989 by Epic Records, produced by the band and Jim Gaines, recorded at Kiva Studios in Tennessee and Soundcastle and Summer Studios in California. Just the one single was released in Crossfire, leading the unpicked number 33 in the US and also winning a Grammy for Best Contemporary Blues Album. The title of the album is a reference to Vaughan's newfound sobriety, and this would be the last album he would record with Double Trouble. Go for it.
Finally, this is much better. Straight off the bat, the addition of the horn section, the keys, the organ, much better. Does help add some extra textures and layers to this whole thing. But finally, the drummer has woken up. Actually digging into his hats a little bit, throwing in some ghost notes, throwing in a bit of stank. Finally. And it actually gives this whole band new life. There's a thing of, totally to get sidetracked here with, drum talk.
Of course not. You'd never do that.
No, this guy was highly influenced by Tim White. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Exactly, man.
He really mimicked that drum.
No, but the thing was, with B.B. King albums, when they would record the album, they'd have, the producer would just get the drummer to do what the producer would want, which would be like the first couple of albums.
Yeah.
When it came to playing live, B.B. King would kick everyone's ass and be like, no. Actually give it some life and play the fucking drums.
Yeah.
Actually dig into it a little bit, actually hit a little bit harder, throw in some ghost notes, and actually bring the thing to life. And finally, that's what's happened here. So he finally listened to a B.B. King live album.
I wonder if B.B. King yelled at the fucking TV screen like this guy's doing right now.
I know, right?
Calm down, bro.
Would have helped.
It's
and
okay.
it's
It's
finally,
animated Tim Spinner, I reckon, on the show.
it's a great fucking addition. I know drums will do this to me. By far his best album, Crossfire and Travis Walk is the highlight, 9 out of 10.
Wow, cool.
I tend to agree, and I'm not going to yell at you for it, but I tend to agree on a lot of what Tim just touched on right now. Very punchy production. That's the first thing that grabbed me straight up. Definitely the most rockiest Vaughan had come.
It's the least from the traditional blues.
Yeah, and it's fucking great for it. Thank you so much for that. Again, like you said, even the playing by each member, I felt it was a tougher approach. Like there was double playing.
Almost a point to prove kind of record.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't know his career. I don't know where he was at that point in time.
Well, maybe it was the sobriety sharpened him up, and he's gone.
Yeah, he's woken up.
Yeah, he needed something to.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, because I can see this album actually turning off lovers for the previous stuff because it's just
potentially
harder and the dynamics aren't as prominent here. It's more of a straightforward approach. So I can see him losing fans but gaining fans in other markets.
I think he'd gain more than he'd lose potentially.
Yeah, I think it would apply or come across to a younger audience in a light. Whereas his music had that appeal to an older audience.
This is less niche.
You say all the words that I'm thinking and we'll be fine. So would have never used niche, but it sounds good. It's nice. It's supposed to be sound intelligent from another guy.
From the producer.
Yeah, I just that's what we call him, boss man. So he's actually written this out for me.
Better handwriting than mine.
Well, it's slightly brailled with, I won't go into it. No, I better not. I just thought they focused more on the rhythms and the accenting here rather than just trying to strictly be we're blues or we're 12-bar blues, you know. The keys I really enjoyed on this. I just thought it really worked really well. This was definitely the most enjoyable album that he did for me.
Okay, cool.
So it's about fucking time you got your shit together, brother. No, I'm just kidding, brother. Standouts, Crossfire, Leave My Girl Alone, which, it doesn't matter what style of music. You generally want that to happen. So, and Love Me, Darling.
You want that to happen too, eh?
Depends if you've got to swap girls or whatever. Or guys or whatever it sort of goes on these days. 7 out of 10.
And as we go further into the episode, you can just tell how much further we fall off the rails. It's funny how in these retrospective reviews you find some gems that stand the test of time overall and lyrics that don't lose any relevance, and that Crossfire on this is one of those songs. It still fits today perfectly.
Can you quote anything?
No, I wrote this review a year ago, so you're going to forgive me on that one.
I knew that. I just wanted to
Can you?
say it. Well, I knew you did it a year ago because I did it a year ago. That's how much I knew. Yeah. I didn't know if you did a Dave and go, these lyrics, blah, 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 blah.
I did it 2 days ago.
He's the fresh take.
Yeah.
This is the one that moves furthest away from the traditional blues. It has a lot more expressive bass runs. The drumming is much more lively. It's more like a rock drumming thing. The group seems to move further into our traditional wheelhouse as they go along.
That's what I enjoy
as opposed
most
to further
about
away.
Yeah.
It's got well thought out presentation and track order. The placement of the solo track in the middle of the album was well done. Good use of instrumentals to break things up on this one. And while the guitar is still and will always be the centerpiece for Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff, along with the vocals, the band get to show more of themselves. There's more elements incorporated in the songwriting process overall from that. Lyrics well crafted. There are some bits that make you cringe, but that's generic for the style and also for the era too, so don't really write that off at all. It doesn't really mean much these days. But I thought it's well captured and well presented. The use of reverb was to really flesh out the sound, was a good trick on this record. This is a fun album overall with some serious and somber moments. Something for every mood up there, and the epic closing track was a really good way to finish the album off. I like the way the keys, along with you, were used on this record. That was a really good touch on this one. And the album again shows further growth and a bit more maturity coming into the style. It's more distinct when it comes to his writing and performing now. It's a shame that his career has ended where it had, because it's another one that leaves you wondering what might have been. Like, you get that with Jimi Hendrix. On this record, I think you find that with Stevie Ray Vaughan, that it's one of those toss of the coin moments where you don't know what would have happened later on. I mean, this is not the end of his work, but it's just you don't know what could have happened, kind of thing. You can feel the loss of the talent on this record now. You can start to see that coming in. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I picked Crossfire, Riviera Paradise, and The House is Rockin'. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. The Vaughan Brothers, Family Style. Well, Caesar is going to just ruin this one, I know it. 10 tracks for 40 minutes. His tail's wagging. He's going, fuck yeah, I am. The one and only album by the Vaughan Brothers, released September 1990 by Epic Records. Oh, boy. Produced by Nile Rodgers. Recorded at 3 different studios across Dallas and New York. No singles appear to have been released from this one. There isn't much by way of chart representation either. This album fulfilled a long-time wish from Stevie to do an album with his brother Jimmy. I don't know what Caesar is doing. Don't know what any of us are doing, actually. And has loads of musicians listed in the credits, with the brothers handling guitars and vocals. This would be Steve's final studio performance and was released almost 1 month after his death. Well, Caesar is presenting again. Go for it.
I've owned this CD for a very long time and I don't listen to it very much. Up until when I've listened to it for this review process, which was like a year ago when I wrote this, I couldn't have told you a single thing about the album. And a year on, I still can't tell you a single thing about the album. It's just not very memorable.
Oh, no.
I don't want to say bad things about it because I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm wearing his t-shirt, but fuck, this album just comes and goes and it doesn't leave any impression at all. I don't know anything about his brother Jimi Vaughan. I haven't listened to anything else, so I can't say how much this album resembles his style. It just sounds very different to what you expect from Stevie Ray Vaughan. I wrote it's a fun, upbeat listen, but it can't be that fun because I don't fucking remember it. And I wrote there's nothing about this album that really grabs me. And now I know why I don't listen to this CD. I think I just got it as a collection. And I gave it 6 out of 10, but I'm dropping that to 4 out of 10 because I don't remember a fucking thing. I put Hillbillies from Outer Space, the instrumental, as a standout, but once again I couldn't tell you what it is. I mean, I'm sure his brother, thankfully, doesn't have to record another fucking album with him.
Oh, wow. Okay. Just when you just want to keep digging some more holes for yourself, go and check out our Michael Sweet review for more context on that comment.
Sabotage the fucking helicopter.
Oh, wow.
What a shit album you made with me. Never do that again.
Okay.
I don't
want to move on?
I don't know if we can. Is this over now? Or,
I don't know if we're still on the air or not, but we've got a few more to go. So.
All right. This, forgive me, just in case you don't like what I'm going to say. This has a big band feel to me. This is a way different departure, but what I did notice was the no horns or the lack of horns. Like that was completely gone. And I thought, do I like that or don't? I couldn't really get my head around what this album was supposed to be. Like I know it's under the Vaughan brothers. Was this supposed to be a solo with his brother? Like was it a continuation? I couldn't see in the catalogue. I couldn't see how it fit.
Yeah, I think this was just meant to be a fun project, something he wanted to do for forever, and he was like bucket listing it.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
That's what I think.
It was definitely a departure to what I understood Stevie Ray Vaughan to be. Especially in the first 2 or 3 songs, I was like, what's going on? I couldn't really get my head around it. It does, after, say, the 4th or 5th song, settle into the trademark shuffle and the waltz thing that, you know, if you are into that, and you definitely didn't get that on the last album, you got it on this album in spades. But I really struggled to get through this one. This I do remember, you know, unlike this guy here who remembers nothing. But I do remember this one going, geez, you know, I don't want this style at all.
Fair enough.
In my life. I almost walked and quit the show on this fucking No, I didn't do that. We all love music, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Except for this fucking guy. He's fucking a bit weird at times.
Like your music?
Look, it was neither here or there for me.
Yeah.
It was 5 out of 10.
Okay.
I can definitely do without it. Wasn't the worst fucking thing in the world, according to this guy. But
just don't remember it.
The telephone song was apparently a good song.
It was phoned in.
This was Sky before we knew it. I wrote that down, and I don't even know what DFW is. Was that a song?
I haven't got the track listing.
Dumb fuckwit.
That's his brother.
Sure people are saying to you right now, Dave.
That's his cousin Steve who mixed it. DFW. Other than that, it's something I could do without, but it was nice to hear it, I guess. You know, for something different.
This is a train wreck of a review. All right. Straight off, you can feel the fun these two are having together in the studio.
Don't put me with this guy.
I'll avoid him to myself.
You and all your friends over there.
The upbeat arsehole that he is.
Sit in the naughty corner.
Put you in the bin. Now, this musically is very different from his previous works. The people typically involved have added some different colours and flavours to this. It's refreshing. Still based in the blues. Still got some contemporary elements from the time added to it. I have a feeling that this album is a bit overlooked, particularly by my cohorts tonight. I thought that was fantastic.
He doesn't know what he's fucking saying. He doesn't remember.
No, I don't. I thought the guitar work was fantastic, and this again explores new territory in that regard as well.
Sure.
This is the most distinctive work we've had from him yet.
Fuck off.
And I'm getting into this one. I loved the energy on it.
What?
Yeah, I did.
There was energy on it?
Yeah, there was energy on this one.
Yeah, I reckon you had 5-hour energy, mate, when you did this, and you were peaking.
I don't know.
There was no energy on it.
Look, this album for me had a good blend of tracks. There was the rock tracks, there was cheeky moments, there was instrumentals, there was heaps of groove, swing, and a bit of swag about it. It was interesting that it didn't rely on the formula of the past releases in this one. You were saying it was a different style. It was a big departure.
Massive.
But I enjoyed that. For me, this felt much more like a pure fun record. The main takeaway I took from when I was listening to this was that you could tell that he was just in the studio to have fun. He was sober, he was with his brother, he was ticking off bucket list stuff, he was just doing whatever he wanted. And that, to me, was infectious in the listen.
Book and helicopter.
Yeah, but I still think they were eating lots of junk food.
Maybe.
Because that's what this album was, really.
Okay.
Fast food music.
I think, personally, that if you struggle with Stevie Ray Vaughan's 12-bar blues, this is the one to check out instead of. I think it's sad that this was his final studio performance because I really enjoyed his work on this one. I liked the lyrics and the storytelling. I thought this was
captured. Did he die after this one?
Yeah, this is the last year.
What a way to go out, dude.
Yeah. Should have gone out in the last one.
Yeah, I agree.
We should have gone out a long time ago.
No helicopter flights for us, thanks.
None of us are getting on a helicopter or plane or anything anytime soon.
Drive home tonight.
Look, I love this one from start to finish. I think this is one to check out as far as I'm concerned. I think it's impressive how many boundaries were pushed on this record. It was not boring at all.
What a suck.
I think it's a bit time-stamped, but it's fucking great. 10 out of 10.
No!
White Dudes, The Long Way From Home, Good Texan, and Mama Said. Check it out and let us know who you agree with.
And who do you want to kill?
Dog and show are going off the rails. We're going to do Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, The Sky Is Crying, 10 tracks, 38 minutes, the fifth and final album from this group, compiled of recordings made during the band's journey between 1984 and 1989. Released November 1991 via Epic Records, produced by Stevie Ray Vaughan, Tommy Shannon, Chris Layton, Jim Gaines, Richard Muller, and Jim Kapfer. Fucking have some more producers. No singles were released, and again, there are no chart references. This is ultimately put together by Jimmy Vaughan as a way to get the title track released. This album has numerous writing credits and features a Grammy-winning extended instrumental version of Jimi Hendrix's Little Wing. This is all previously unreleased music, with the exception of Empty Arms, so Caesar really trashes things. Oh, even Nala's.
Working.
Nala's in the mic in the corner as well, so the dogs are definitely going off the rails. Go for it.
So I actually didn't research this album before I wrote the review, so I didn't know that he died.
Here we go. So you're going to feel really good about this.
Yeah, originally I wrote The Sky Is Crying is a great name for an album, and then I wrote that's probably a reference to him dying, so...
No, I wouldn't.
And then I got here and I found out it was a helicopter crash. You can check my notes if you want. I don't think you can deny, though, it is a great name for an album.
It is.
Sounds like a Jimi Hendrix album, to be honest. Yeah. Unfortunately, the piano and the horns are back off this record for the most part, which does make sense for if it's compilation stuff. Yeah. Again, I didn't research this before doing this. Fantastic guitar work as always. Vocals are great, but again, it went back to feeling like a blues band, 12-bar with a great guitarist. So it's all right for what it is. But yeah, Empty Arms is the highlight. 8 out of 10.
Listening to this collection of tracks, it goes without saying the world lost a remarkable talent when Stevie Ray Vaughan died. The playing on these songs is just so full of life, passion and joy, and to think these tracks could have gone unreleased is crazy, because some of the stuff on this is better than what was released on previous albums. Firstly, I have to give him credit for Little Wing. He made that song his own, and I do like this version better than Hendrix's version, actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
The changes in mood and the emotion he puts into his playing is truly remarkable. It is a fantastic recording, and it's captured beautiful. The title track, The Sky Is Crying, is great, slow electric blues. It reminds me of Red House. Once again, how could this be an unreleased track?
Well, this whole album was released to get that track out.
But there's so much fucking great music on this. The album actually led me to checking out jazz guitarists. Like the cover of Chitlin Con Carne got me to check out the original by Kenny Burrow. He's actually a very cool guitarist.
Okay.
It's very... If you like laid-back guitar, there's some very cool guitar tone on that. Caesar? No, I'm not into it. I'm thanks,
He's doing the rounds.
Yeah. Slut.
Wow.
Okay, let's try and get back to it.
Yeah, good luck with that.
The closing track, the solo acoustic blues piece.
He'd like to close with you.
Yeah, I've never heard Stevie Ray Vaughan play an acoustic guitar before, and stripping it back to the bare minimum just shows what and the natural talent he had. No! 9 out of 10. It stands for Little Wing, Chillin' Con Carne, Life by the Drop, Wham, and The Sky is Crying.
I think Caesar is turning into the Harvey Weinstein of THRS.
That's what Caesar still did.
Me too.
Oh, here we go. As expected, this does return to the blues roots as it is taken from that era of the recording sessions, the bread and butter of that band. We are the bread and butter in Caesar's sandwich. For a project compiled out of many years of work, this is another really cohesive listen that plays like an album should. Production is vibrant, fresh, cohesive. This one sparkles nicely, just keeps that required grit. Shit. You have to make it over the cover of Little Wing. That's really well done. I know what's going on. Another one where his take spins off of things but also remains true to the original. This has some great feel across the board on this record. The track order is well done. It's got groove, swing and swagger. There is some really fantastic playing on this record as well. Like you were saying, it's a shame that we only got to see or hear these songs because of his death. That these would have been unreleased without that. There's some good songs in here, some really good songs, some fantastic playing. The instrumentals on this are really cool and they stand out for me, and that's in a good way on this release. Everything is good, but those instrumentals really flesh this one out nicely. Also shows off the talent, the playing ability, just the pure ability was fantastic. I like the little things in this, while Caesar is finally settling down. Things that would make the cut in a final record normally, but the little hints of the studio stuff, that thing that they left in on these, that was really cool. The closing acoustic track, how that never made it onto a previous album is absolutely beyond me. Yeah, it's a 12-bar blues song, but you really get to hear Stevie in a whole new light. It's an amazing track. They missed a trick with that. They should have released it sooner. He shines on that one. It's a cool record. Still stunned to sit there and go, okay, this wasn't good enough for previous releases. There's nothing bad about this release at all. I find myself appreciating his body of work more as the years go through, or as we go along, I should say. This is a really cool, complete record. 9 out of 10 from me. Little Wing, The Sky's Crying, Life by the Drop, and So Excited. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble Live Alive. 13 tracks for 70 minutes. The first live album from the band compiled over 4 performances in various locations, with much of it being overdubbed. Released November 1986 by Epic Records, produced by Vaughan and the band. No singles appear to have been released, nor is there any relative chart information, but a lot of this shows off Vaughan's influences, with a range of cover songs being present on this one. Go for it.
My most enjoyable listen to date.
Okay.
Again, I've stressed this before, and I'll say it one more time, not a style I'm into. But in a live format, I would have liked to have seen this. You know, overdubs and all that kind of stuff I don't really care for, because everyone does it. You know, what's live really? Like, go through all the classic albums. They've been touched up some way. You know. The band was super tight. Like, I mean, it transcended through the recordings, but this, you know, shows, you know, that they're a well-oiled machine at this point in time. Well captured. I thought it was mixed really well. I thought it all came through really nice, especially for a live recording. Just a swingy, bluesy, good time, good energy overall. You know, I would probably use this as a little bit of a gateway to start, maybe, and then you might be able to get into, or maybe understand the recording processes more.
The cool covers would help.
I think I would have liked to have heard this, and then I
gone back into
settled. I would have gotten a bit of an understanding rather than going through one by one and going, this is not really my thing. Really good. 8 out of 10. Say What, Pride and Joy, Superstition, and Voodoo Child were my standouts. But overall, it's a really good live concert or concerts. Yeah, good.
Cool.
Back in the early 2000s was when I really became a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. So But thinking back, I always tended to go to the DVDs more than picking up his albums to listen to, because the live shows were where he really did shine.
Yep.
And not just listening to his live performance, but actually watching the way that he was playing. It was just very impressive. This live album, if you're familiar with the live album, with the album versions, and you'll easily pick up on what he adds to the songs in the live setting. He's really in the moment with his playing, and he just puts his heart into it. Yeah. And I think the studio kind of restrained what he was capable of doing. Cause,
possibly. Yeah, makes sense.
You get that energy from the band and from the audience, and he just put more into it. I do prefer listening to live albums over compilations, because they're similar, but you just get different versions rather than just putting a greatest hits package together. A good live album will give you something that you're familiar with and add a lot more onto it, and this one definitely delivers on that. And I did point out how good is the cover of Superstition, and he really makes that song his own. It's very cool. 8 out of 10, Superstition. Superstition, that's the one. Voodoo Child, Mary Had a Little Lamb, Horse and the Goat, whatever she was into. Pride and Joy, and Ain't Gonna Give Up on Love.
Caesar Salad, mate.
Yeah.
Caesar was into you before.
Whole fucking farm.
Alright, well, overdubs or not, this sounds pretty good, and it sounds like a live record to me, so you can take whatever you want. It's got a great vibe about it, and the cuts between the songs are smooth as well, which is cool. The version they do of Superstition has been covered up with it's good. Wow, never heard anything like that. It's really well done. The jam elements to this band shine much more in the live environment than they do on record, so in that respect, the breaks have come off and they can just sort of do what they want with it, and it's really cool. And how they play off of against each other you can tell that band are well and truly in sync with each other. Listen to that part of this.
Yeah.
It's one of those perfect albums to put on the background of a party. It won't go astray in pretty much any environment. I think it's really well done. And this is a different kind of captivating than what we got on the Hendrix releases. This is a bit more where Hendrix was artistic. This is just more fun. Like, you just get to sit down, have a drink, have a bit of a boogie if that's your thing, kind of thing. But you can just sit back and enjoy this one either way. This is one of those cases where to understand the live band has to be more attached to the artist, I think. I get the feeling listening to this one, the live show is where he shined, and I guess that's being validated by you saying you'd always go and watch the DVDs before you pick up an album. Yeah. This sounds good. It's a fun, really easy listen. It'll get you grooving in no time. Got to give a nod to the set list as well. I thought that was really well thought out. If you, like you were saying, if you were to see this as a concert, you'd be pretty happy with it. Unlike Nala growling away in the corner over there.
I think a testimony to it is, I've only heard the audio, and it didn't lose me.
Yeah,
and I can't say that for all his albums. I was lost and sort of struggling to get through. This was like, geez, this would have been amazing visually, and I'm really enjoying it just as an audio. So that's a testament in itself of there is quality and substance to the songs, but then when they add the twists and all that, it's really cool.
When they're allowed to go on their own sort of path to it and have a bit of fun with it, it tends to add more life and energy to the whole thing, and I think that's captured on this record nicely. If you start at the end, like you were saying, of Vaughan's career and work your way backwards, it's probably going to be easier to get your way through the Vaughan catalogue than to start at the beginning and work your way forwards in time, so to speak. This is one of those artists where you go back to the newer stuff first and go back through time from there. Goes an 8.5 out of 10. I picked Superstition, Look at Little Sister, Willie the Wimp, Change It, and Love Struck Baby. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Details at the bottom of the screen, as always, and make sure you check out the extra stuff that didn't make it into the TV cut on YouTube in particular, but also follow all of our social media networks to stay up to date. After this on Channel 31 is another THRS Marathon, so stick around until about 4:30 in the morning where we give you reruns of some old classic episodes, and hopefully you enjoy those as well. And as always, give us your feedback. It's always most welcome. I think that's it though. We've done our 2-hour special on Hendrix and Vaughan, so hopefully you've enjoyed this one. We had to go back in time a little bit to some old notes and revisit this one. It was good to go back through it again, and there's some fun stuff that probably hasn't made it to TV.
It's like a message from the past.
Yeah, a message in a bottle. But anyway, I think that's it for this week. It's been a lot of fun. We did a lot of work. I think it ended up being, I don't know how many hours. I had a whole bunch of stats, but there was a lot of hours involved musically in this one, so it was really cool.
Long albums, some of them.
14 albums, some of them were long, and it was a lot of work.
Especially on the Hendrix side of things.
Yeah.
Like the double albums.
Yeah. When we had the original battle, we did score it, and Hendrix did win that one, but it wasn't a complete whitewash either. It was actually relatively even in some parts of it too. So I think it was typical that when the battle was done, Hendrix was going to take out, the flag of it, so to speak. But I personally grew a greater appreciation for both of them, but in particular Vaughan.
I found it hard to put them against each other because they're such
different styles.
A lot of it would come down to taste as well.
True.
Because I think most people in the rock side of things would
go to Hendrix.
But
And Hendrix was a big influence on Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Exactly. Yes.
Which you wouldn't hear it overall.
Yeah.
As a catalogue, I don't hear Hendrix in his stuff at all.
Even the Hendrix covers he did, he made them his own.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I don't, I can. You normally get a snippet somewhere in an artist. I can. When they do this, it's like reminds you of that artist, but not with him.
No, it was a different one, and that's why we changed it to a celebration thing, I guess, of both these artists in the end, and that's hopefully what you've taken away from it with all of our antics in between as well. Now it's time for our favourite part of the week, and that is to go to the bin. So, Tim, you kick us off.
Oh, God.
What are you putting in the bin this week for us?
A bottle cap.
Okay, cool.
Done.
Well, that's a good start for the environment.
On that note, so we're doing this the day after the climate change rallies.
We are.
A lot of, let's call them right-wing media pundits are sharing the usual fake image of, look at these people leaving plastic everywhere after a protest. Of course it's a fake image, but if you've got to lie to your audience like that, perhaps you're wrong.
Yeah.
We often touch on politics or politicians.
Mm-hmm.
There's been stuff happening overseas in Afghanistan where oil and stuff have been damaged.
Iran,
all of a sudden,
Saudi Arabia,
all those
stuff,
places. You know what I mean? Where and all of a sudden things are skyrocketing. But a 12% pay rise was in order for Daniel Andrews' government. I'm still baffled. I don't think I've ever received 12% in anything in my life. If I get $5 extra and then it's taxed on as a pay rise, I'm generally grateful for that 48 cents.
Got like $1.50.
It just baffles me how they can just
keep taking money.
And yet look at all the things that need to be done and are not getting done. Let's face it. We've got hospitals that can't even actually do operations because they haven't got fucking equipment that is actually working.
Yep.
How do you justify that in the same fucking week is beyond me. And how are these people still in government? Really, it's probably our fault. But we've got to start changing this. They've got to start being accountable for their fucking actions because it's fucking us all over. And I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of busting my ass every week and still,
dogs
barely. They're upset with me, right? If Daniel Andrews comes to his backyard, he's going to get killed. But yeah, look, I've got really nothing to show just other than getting through the week, and yet these guys are getting pretty much my year's wages as a pay rise.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Crapola.com.
Nothing political. It must be all the Hendrix I've listened to. But it's going to be a bit hippie.
You bringing people together, are you?
Yeah, I want to, because
That'd be a fucking change for you.
I did put this in the bin when we did the original Hendrix Vaughan taping, but negative labels, people's negative assumptions that they put on themselves, just stop. As soon as you label something negatively, you're going to work towards fulfilling that. And yeah, you might not be perfect, you might not get it right the first time, but just putting yourself down in that light and then just that's who you are, it's never going to lead to anything good. You might suck at something to start with. Keep trying, you'll get better.
Just like Nala now, who finally worked out how to open the sliding door from the inside of this one.
Yeah.
So I'll do it at the other house, but not with this one. That's the first time she's worked that one out. So there you go. Even the old dog can learn new tricks. Speaking of dogs. I'm not putting dogs in the bin. I'm calling, we had the Toby Green thing recently, and whatever you think about that particular act and the suspension or not suspension, whatever else, besides. People that call things that he was doing on the football field dog acts. Dogs don't fucking do that. It's demeaning to dogs to say that they're a dog act. They're a completely human act. Only humans do them, so call them a prick, a see you next Tuesday, or whatever you'd like to call them. But it's not a dog act. That's right, Nala, it's not a dog act. So can we just not use animals in reference to the shitty things that people do?
So now what we can do is when I call you a dog, that's a good thing because that's actually they're generally loyal and they kind of really look after you and protect you and stuff like that.
For a lot of years, actually dogs. So there you go.
Get down on your knees and bark.
The next person calls you a dog, that's a compliment.
Yeah. Except for I'd just like to see that conversation change because I don't know. Having negative connotations, like you were saying, negative labels, people naming negative behaviours in dogs in the same thing. No, they're not. It's people that fuck it up. Don't call them dogs.
Call them a wolf.
Okay.
Dingo.
Dingo. It might be a bear. Anyway, a bit of Ross Noble there for you all. That's it for this week to close it out with. So there you are. Thank
Chihuahua, you dirty.
The Chihuahuas are
It's a dog.
Demons, though.
They're nasty little things. All right. Time to go. We're back again, same time next week. Until then, I'm Andrew.
I'm Dave.
I'm Bon Jovi.
I'm Tim.
Thank you all for watching. Until next week.
Drink up.
Rock on.
Yeah.
Bloopers are coming up right around the corner. Before we get to those, just want to say a very quick thank you to our Patreon supporters, our Funk Dancing for Self-Defense, Eat the Damn Orange, Andrew M, Craig S, Greg B, Kaz B, and Tim C. Thank you for your support. Now enjoy the outtakes.
Get out, you bastard.
Just need some fucking chopsticks. You could get a luck. Fucking love that.
Get out.
He's back here.
Oh, fucking. Oh, he's just fucking with us now. He should be filming.
You do
This
it,
is the
Phil.
ultimate blooper. Yeah.
Probably is filming it. It's like a fucking blooper and a half. She's trying to get a fucking
This
fly
shit
out
just
of
goes
his
straight to
fucking
YouTube. Free metalheads take on Fly.
jaw. And lose.
You need a cigarette lighter.
I got one.
I love those stories.
You haven't got it yet.
Woman burns down house trying to kill spider.
Where's the other one? There were 3.
No, we got one out.
Oh, one's
Took
out.
3 of us, but we did it.
3 people, 1 fly. Okay.
No, nice. Your school teacher checked it off for you.
That's all right.
I know.
No, we haven't played that dress up game yet.
Oh,
What? I know I'm speaking the bloopers now.
teachers and students. Don't you play that with Jody? Are you still on Doctors and Nurses? You're so 80s, dude.
Doesn't mean it's not fun.
I'm fucking jealous. I'm doctor and nurse for myself.
Stick with the 70s, man. Psychologist and patient.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
A clockwork eat the damn. Absolutely. There's one for you, Brendan.
Good stuff. All right. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
You want another drink before we get stuck in?
Actually, yeah.
Jimi Hendrix, are you experienced? Sorry, yeah, I'll do that again. Fucking hell. I lost my shit completely then. It was actually right, and then you lose your shit.
Are you
Yeah.
experienced? I thought
Apparently
you were.
not.
Not experienced enough.
We have no idea.
Fuck. The Jimmy fucking what?
Jimmy Benzino
Yeah,
experience.
I know.
I forgot about that.
That'd be funny actually. All right, let's do this.
What I was doing.
I fell asleep and I was listening to this album, so I didn't really hear all the songs. I remember there was one show, Jimmy fell asleep on every fucking review. that night.
Yeah, it was
It
hilarious.
was fucking great. That was the funniest thing I'd seen.
Yeah, no, he was.
Because I'm not really sure how it finished because I fell asleep.
And Tim. Where's Tim?
Tim!
Oh, fuck. I wrote an essay.
You have to shorten it.
Yeah. Let's talk
Timmy.
fast. Talk fast and
You're up.
coherent.
Timmy!
Timmy!
Fucking South Park, man. There's a fucking reference for everything. Timmy, no.
Because I'm sure that Tim's never actually heard that reference before, ever.
No. Timmy's on steroids.
Okay. Down the line again?
Yeah, right.
Don't sound so enthusiastic, Tim. Fuck. Next is Cry of Love. Cry of Love.
Love's making you cry, you're doing it wrong.
All right, to the point where it just brings you to euphoria and you just...
I'm dripping
Happy
from my
tears!
It's like winning a lot of...
I don't know, we haven't referenced Bukkake tears in this yet.
There's a cup for you.
All right. I think it's coming.
Yeah, it was. That's why.
No pun intended.
No, not at all.
Well, are you experienced?
Oh, I've had a couple of shots.
Some electric
There's
light.
always room for improvement.
Angel actually morphed out of Little Wing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Became a little angel chicken wing.
True.
Jimmy was chasing acid. Well, the acid was chasing him.
It's a bad trip. The acid's chasing you when you're on acid.
Fucking acid dropped me, man. Oh, they got the acid so
I believe
fucked
they call it
up.
schizophrenia.
Oh, you just want cuddles and kisses. Come on. It's
That
my
way.
turn in front of the camera, not yours.
I think Nala disagrees with your point of view.
On your bed.
Good boy.
On your bed. Uh-huh.
You gonna sleep there, right? Yeah. Hi. Hi. Yes. Hello.
No, that's not impressed because she's literally just gone. Hi, I'm Jody.
I'm Andrew.
I just totally just went, where the hell am I?
Welcome to this week's Gig Guide.
Or not, just hi.
That'll do, donkey.
No worries, jackass.
Okay.
All right. Caesar, that's not helpful.
That's got 12 bars, blues, man. It's a little more on the metal side of things. It's a little bit
Make
more
any flip
thrash.
There you go.
I'll send you a loop of that.
Yeah, I'll be able to work with it.
All right. All good? All right.
You can have a drink if you want.
No, I'll just start off. I'll read my intro and then I'll drink what you guys are talking.
Fine, be that way.
I will. You'll see. Caesar, get your head out of the fucking shot. I can't really record anything if your head is taking up the entire
Oh, well,
fucking
suck my
lens.
ass then. That's what I fucking think of you, man. That was perfect.
That was well done.
Like, yeah.
Wow.
Just kiss
Even
my
Niall is in the
fucking
chair going,
ass.
fuck that.
You guys
Caesar.
are fucking too loud. I'm trying to
Caesar.
sleep.
Do this one, have a quick break and do the other two and
Yeah.
continue
Go
rolling
ahead, big
through.
fella.
Kiss me. Kiss me now.
Paint me like one of your French girls. Hey, are you doing the tour, are you? Are you doing the tour?
I did that before as well.
Yeah. Hello. Are you sucking up now? Is there something you want?
Actually, am I next? No. Oh, yeah, I am. Okay.
Yep. What are you
I'm
doing?
going to make a drink.
What are you
I
doing?
won't.
Right, fourth member.
Yeah. Hey, what's he doing? What you doing?
Showing my ass to the TV.
He's definitely getting comfortable now. Hi.
You want to check out the abs?
Phil Collins. I want to smell Phil Collins. What are you doing? I don't know. I'm confused. I want to get down now. Alright. You fucking peanut.
Bestiality and filmmaking.
I know where the money is.
The money shot.
Until next week.
Drink up.
Rock on.
Yeah.
Socks off.
Cock out.
At least didn't say bras off this time.
I'll try to change it up.
As long as something.